From the depths of the vault, this is Eerie's Vault Live, your number one stream for the uncanny, the weird, and the unexplained. Good evening, everybody, or in fact, good morning, good afternoon, good middle of the night, whatever it is, wherever you are. Welcome to the show. This is Eerie's Vault Live, and I am your host, Lehan Eerie. We'll be opening up the phone lines shortly, so if you want to be on the show, I'll tell you how to do that in just a moment. But first, let's have a shout out to my lovely patrons. Adam Mitchell, Baroque Lobster, Buster Piles, Catman, Todd Van Voris, Farson's Finest, John Douglas, Greg Russell, Gaynor Smith, E.J. Osborne, Emu Cat, Pamela Peffer, Andrew Dewey, Keith Say, Pill Collins, Rudolph Hooker, Ryan, Craig McClellan, Zach T, Sobos, Gregory, Amanda McNeil, Natalie Leach, Chris Slee, Heather Maund Jones, Melv, Aaron Osborne, Steadbot, Ginger Ninja, Ben Hurl, Vincent Hegeland, Iron Bug, Paul Redruth, Baby with a Laser, and Bizjisdidish 143, BIZJDSH 143. However you say that, Bizjisdidish 143. Hello all to my patrons, and thank you ever so much for joining. Hopefully, you've all seen that group chat now that we've started on Patreon. I think it was Emu Cat who suggested that I start one, and after a brief moment of being unaware that such a thing existed, we now have one. So no matter what tier you actually are, you can all access that on the Patreon. So dig in, have a group chat. And, you know, the thing about Patreon is you start by building it with what you think people might want. And you build that first just to get it going. But by all means, let's build it together, the rest of it. So, you know, if there's anything else you want to say, any other features on there, then you just let me know and we'll build it together. I didn't know the group chat thing existed, actually. Otherwise, to be honest, I would have used that rather than that Reddit fiasco that happened. Let's have a quick pull over to the chat. So obviously we've got a poll in the chat. Is 3i Atlas an alien craft? Currently we're sat at yes, 12%. No, don't be silly is 31% or 29% now, 18% for yes. And I'm happy to wait and see is the overwhelming majority there. And because I've done a poll, I cannot see now who is actually... Oh, yes, I can. Oh, yes, I can. Tech savviness. Theme Queen UK, good evening and welcome. A King Plums is here. Welcome to the show. Paul Williams, hello to you. Buster Piles, International Man of Underpants, is here with us. Welcome, Buster. Liz Ace says, Liz reporting for duty. Good evening, Mom. Matt J says hi. Hello, Matt. Ron Meeg is with us as well. Hello, Ron. Purple Pipkin. Hello there, Purple Pipkin. Now, Pipkin, isn't that something from the Moomins? Or have I made that up? Pipkin's from the Moomins, isn't it? I think so. Oh, it's Pamela. Oh, hello, Pamela P. It's you. It's you. Welcome. Steve Wills says, evening, Eerie and all in chat. Good evening, Steve. And Darren Jump is with us as well. Good evening, Darren. It's good to have you all here. Seems like ages since we did one of these. Absolutely. Oh, and there's Fleur Bell as well. Hello, Fleur Bell. Welcome. So, oh, Pipkin. Snuffkin is from the Moomins. Yes, what's a Pipkin then? What is a Pipkin? I feel like I should know what a Pipkin is. I know what Pikmin is. some education for me tonight, I think. Yes, welcome all. I was away last week, goodness me. I was actually in Cyprus, of all places, and I had a look to see if there's any eerie things whilst I was there. There was something about some little people, I think, who live in the forests over there, and I didn't fancy traipsing into the dark forest on my own in Cyprus, nor with my wife either. I don't think we wouldn't have fared particularly well, and nevertheless I had got food poisoning, as it happens, from, of all places, a TGI Fridays in Cyprus. So my advice to anybody travelling over there, do not order food from TGI Fridays in Nicosia, because, good Lord, I suffered with that, let me tell you. I did think I'd have to go to hospital at one point, but luckily I'm tough and I pulled through. But goodness me, it was not a fun experience at all. Oh yes, Pipkins was Hartley Hare, wasn't it? That sort of mangy, rabid-looking thing. And some pig, there was a pig on that show, wasn't there? And yes, quite terrifying, actually. So yes, I hope you're all well. I hope you enjoyed the chat with Preston Dennett. That was a really enjoyable interview, actually. And yes, I hope you all enjoyed that instead of the live show last week. I tried to keep it the same, so I put it on as a premiere so you still could do live chat and all of that kind of thing. All right, let's have some eerie news. So we've been following the strange journey of 3i Atlas since it first appeared in July. This is a fast-moving interstellar object that has baffled astronomers and thrilled skywatchers, myself included. And at first it seemed like just another comet from beyond our solar system, but as more data comes in, 3i Atlas is starting to look less like a typical space rock, and it's become rather more a riddle. Some researchers are daring to ask a question that was once unthinkable. Could 3i Atlas be artificial? Perhaps even the ancient debris of another civilization. As was reported earlier this summer, NASA confirmed that 3i Atlas is only the third interstellar object ever detected, after Oumuamua of 2017 and the 2i Borisov of 2019. But this one might be the strangest yet. Simulations based on its motion through space suggest it could be as much as 10 billion years old, older than the Sun itself. Its path through the galaxy shows no signs of recent gravitational encounters with any nearby stars. In other words, 3i Atlas seems to have been wandering the void untouched for eons. And if it's true, then it makes it a time capsule from an earlier cosmic era. Possibly, mind you, predating most of the Milky Way's planets. Can you just put that into perspective in your minds for a minute? Or even predating heavy elements that make life possible. Spectroscopic data from the James Webb Telescope and NASA's NEOWISE mission reveal that 3i Atlas is unusually rich in carbon dioxide, with a CO2 to water ratio of about 8:1, which is vastly different from typical comets, which are dominated by water ice generally. The discovery has thrown modelers into disarray. We don't know of a process that would produce that ratio in a natural solar-type system, said one NASA scientist. It suggests formation under conditions we've never observed, or something else entirely. Something else. That is the phrase that's echoing through the scientific community. Some researchers note that its hyperbolic trajectory, high speed and volatile composition could fit into a broader pattern. Ancient objects and, get this, natural or otherwise, ejected from long-dead civilizations or planetary systems. It could be interstellar debris left over from technological activity billions of years ago, says Avi Loeb. If civilizations arise throughout the galaxy, their technological byproducts would drift between the stars, just like comets. Most astronomers, let's be clear on it, they still believe 3I Atlas is a natural object, a comet formed in another star's planetary system, perhaps from a CO2-rich disk that just doesn't exist anymore. But its extraordinary age, chemical oddities, and the trajectory, they're forcing even some skeptics to keep a bit of an open mind. So whether it's natural or not, it still represents a message from the deep past. One can only imagine the things that that object has seen on its travels. We've had a breakthrough in holographic television. An immersive display tech might be closer than we thought. What does that name say? Believe Vision, very well spelled, has introduced Portal Graph. Now, this is a system that the company claims can turn virtually any existing screen, from TVs and monitors to projectors, into a 3D virtual reality experience without a headset required. Now, I don't know if anybody is familiar with the, I'll get my teeth in eventually tonight, familiar with the sitcom Still Game, but I'm immediately put in mind of Winston's big screen television there and the disaster that was. Yes, so essentially, this is software and some optics solution that processes visual data in a new way, apparently. It creates multidimensional effects on conventional screens. Rather than isolating the user from their surroundings with a helmet or a headset, this lets viewers see and interact with both the virtual content and the real world simultaneously. In other words, you could watch a film or a concert in immersive mode without strapping goggles to your face. Believe Vision says Portal Graph is already being tested with content creators, as they're called nowadays, entertainment companies and game studios. Some of the envisioned use cases are films, television and concert footage would become real-world environments. Imagine being in the sports... I'm not a sports guy, by the way, but imagine being in the sports stadium with 3D replays and stuff like that. God, can you imagine the scrutiny over what is it, offside rules, or I don't do sport, but the scrutiny over things that get scrutinized in sport. Can you imagine it in holographic 3D? Believe also emphasizes that users don't need to buy new hardware. It just will work with displays you already own. I don't get my head around it, but then, I didn't create it, did I? So what are you going to do? They're big claims, aren't they? Personally, I'm not really going to get my hopes up because, I went 3D probably, oh, goodness me, how long ago now? 12, 13 years ago, I went 3D. Bought the big 3D television, the glasses, they look like shades that you wear. And, nothing happened. Nothing really happened with it. Blu-ray 3D. I mean, where did it all go? That technology sank. I think OLED and whatever else there is now took its place. But, I did play Shadow of the Colossus, actually, on the PS something. Gosh, must have been the PS4 back then, in 3D. That was pretty good. But then nothing else happened, did it? So, very disappointing. There's been a new fossil found in Dorset, which includes remarkably well-preserved bones, enough to permit scientists to identify it as completely new to science. In recognition of its distinctive morphology, this creature has been named, let's have a go at this, Zyphodracon goldencapensis, literally sword dragon of golden cap being some piece of headland in the region, I think, and reports suggest that this fossil was originally exposed after a storm, then recovered and studied and compared extensively over many years before this formal naming was announced. It's essentially an ichthyosaur, but this blade-shaped extension near the creature's nasal area isn't possessed by any other known ichthyosaur species. It's a slender, elongated snout. It's reminiscent of a sword, of course, or a rapier, in fact, suggestive of some specialized feeding adaptation. Large eye orbits, hinting at acute vision, potentially an adaptation for deep or murky and dark marine environments. And because this fossil is so complete, it kind of fills a gap in the fossil record for marine reptiles of the Jurassic period and suggests that the ichthyosaur diversity was more varied than previously believed. This sword dragon might prompt a re-evaluation of the ecological niches occupied by marine reptiles in the Mesozoic era. England's always been a bit of a hotspot, hasn't it, for fossils? We're kind of a fossil nation, aren't we? You know, places like Whitby and the Jurassic Coast, in fact. I've never found a fossil in the wild. I've seen ammonites. Oh, no, I tell a lie. I've found an ammonite, I think, in Whitby many, many, many years ago. But generally you just see them in shops, don't you? Has anybody here ever found a fossil? That's actually, I'd like to know the answer to that. And what was it? That's what I want to know. And where? You know, all the things about how you found it. I've never managed to find one. Now, it means that, you know, it's a new highlight, isn't it, for the Jurassic Coast's legacy, you know. What's that fossil hunter? Oh, gosh. Mary Anning, I think she was the one who found the first ichthyosaur, wasn't she, as a young girl? I may be well off on that. Some of you guys will know, I'm sure. And in a posthumous tribute in Carrickfergus, the Northern Irish town where she was born, Charlotte Riddle has been honoured with a blue plaque marking her former home in one of the Victorian, and she was one of the Victorian era's most prolific authors of ghost stories and supernatural fiction. Known for her voluminous output and atmospheric writing, Riddell carved a niche within the literary world with haunting tales that explored moral ambiguity, the uncanny, and the boundary between the living and the dead. Over her lifetime, from 1832 until 1906, Charlotte Riddell published more than 50 novels and short stories, many weaving in elements of the supernatural and ghostly encounters. Her work often engaged with themes of class, morality, and the unseen, imbued with that Victorian fascination of spirits and portals. The name doesn't always get the recognition that other Gothic or ghost story authors of her time tend to get. And I must admit, it's a name I've never heard before. But this blue plaque in Carrickfergus is recognition of her literary impact and a physical reminder of her local heritage, that this famed Queen of Ghost Stories, as she has been dubbed, once walked the streets of this her hometown. It looks like we've got, somebody's found a fossil. Who is it? It's Fleur. Fleur found a fossil. It was an ammonite near Scarborough. Yes, ammonites, the ubiquitous fossil of choice, aren't they? What you really want to find is a, you know, Tyrannosaurus Rex or something like that. But I've never found one of those either. I used to like the idea of going fossil hunting, but then I would get bored rather quickly. I do like rock pools, however. I can look in rock pools for ever and ever and ever. Well, until I get hungry. Anyway, who else has joined us in the chat? We've got more Cowbell Barbecue. Hello there. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Do we have anybody else that I have missed? William Kane. Hello, William. I don't know if I've mentioned you already. Hartley Hare, Pipkins. Yes, that's right. Still game, says Darren. Yes, Darren Jump, it was very good. And in fact, it is still good. I can watch that again and again. Absolutely love Still Game. It's so funny. So funny. Buster says, I have an ammonite and a trilobite. Oh, but it would be much more special to have found it myself. Yes, trilobites. Gosh, what were those things? It wasn't, was it triops or something? There was I guess a toy, you'd call it. A toy that you used to be able to get. And it was kind of, it was emblazoned, hatch your own dinosaurs or something ridiculous like that on it. And you got it from places like the Sea Life Centre and things like that. And it wasn't quite sea monkeys. They were little tiny trilobite type things, I think, from memory. And you had sort of a plastic island, let's say, with a bit of sand and a bit of water. And you put them in the water and they supposedly grew. Mine never did. There were even little bags of food. I'm sure they were called triops. Let's have a quick... Yes, little tadpole shrimps, apparently. Gosh. How to hatch and raise triops. Yep, there you go. Almost sea monkeys, Floyd. Something slightly different. They looked like trilobites did do, or would have done, or illustrations of them looked. Darren says, I used to fossil hunt when I was a kid. Found a few tiny ammonites. It was behind my house in Lancashire. There you go. Imagine finding fossils in your own house. Do you know, you just reminded me, when I was very young, must have been, gosh, 9 or 10, and I was digging in the back garden looking for fossils. I was mad on dinosaurs. When I was a kid, I could have named any dinosaur that had been discovered at that point. I could name them all. I could draw them all. I knew all the facts. And I was digging for fossils in the back garden. And I found this sort of yellowed, tough thing. Probably, I mean, I'm guessing they probably, I bet I got 3 to 5 feet down easily. Maybe more based on what it was. Anyway, there's this yellow thing, and I could sort of get under it, but I couldn't get it out. So I had the shovel underneath, trying to lever it out of the ground. And my brother helped me as well, and we were both jumping on this shovel handle to try and get this yellow dinosaur bone, we were convinced, out of the ground. And after a few days of this, we decided to mention it to our parents, who informed us that it was actually a gas pipe, a gas main, that we'd been hitting with stones and trying to rip it out of the ground. It's probably a good job we didn't succeed, isn't it? Yes, Buster says, I got the triops, the kids' triops. One of them grew quite large, and then the wife gave it chocolate, and it died. Well, goodness me, it was like a shiny little horseshoe crab. Yes, I never had luck with those kind of things. I had luck with the sea monkeys at one point, but the triops, they never grew. Goblin Grundle, hello, says, is Eerie familiar with the mud fossil theory? Eerie is not familiar with the mud fossil theory. Certainly would like it explained to me. Sounds like something you could call in with when we get to open the phone lines. Maybe you can tell us all about it. That'd be good. A fossil gas main, yes. I don't know if it was from the Cretaceous, but it could have been an explosive situation, couldn't it? Let's be honest. I thought you were going to say the shovel broke. Yes, it probably would have been safer. Wasn't a dinosaur bone, unfortunately, but never mind. Yes, I was obsessed with dinosaurs as a kid. Triceratops, I think, was my favourite. I don't know why. All the Harryhausen stop-motion films, you know, that Valley of the Gwangi, and, oh gosh, all those with the dinosaurs fighting each other. They were just awesome, weren't they, you know? And I know that CGI, you know, kind of beats the pants off the old stop motion, but the movement doesn't. I think that old stop motion movement of a dinosaur makes them feel more dinosaur-y. That's what I think. Emu Cat found a live stick of gelignite as a kid and it had to be taken away by the fire brigade. But no fossils. Goodness me, who's discarding gelignite? Who's discarding gelignite? That's what I want to know. Fleur, I liked Jurassic Park, the first one. I watched it again and again and again. And then the second one was okay. And then after that, well, I can be honest with you guys, I think it's just gone stupid, really. But films do that, don't they? You know, the first one was really excellent because it was new, I think. And now the peril is just dialed up. And of course, it's a perilous situation, isn't it? Having dinosaurs running amok. But I don't know, the lack of a story now puts me off them, I think. And frankly, I preferred Chris Pratt in Parks and Recreation. I don't know if you've ever seen that. That was a good American sitcom, actually, and he's hilarious in that. He's hilarious. The best character is Ron Swanson, of course. I'll leave that with you. Okay, here's how to take part in tonight's show. To take part in tonight's show, there are a number of options. You can send a message on WhatsApp, giving a brief outline of what it is you want to discuss, and then wait for my call back. Alternatively, for UK residents, you can call direct on 0141 673 3743 to join the call queue and get through to the live show. And for listeners in the US, you can also call on 929 673 3743. That's 929 Mr. Eerie. That's a New York City number. And if you're too shy to call, then you can always email eeriesvault@gmail.com with your story or your theory, whatever it is you want to talk about, and I can read it out for you on air and state. Remember, this is your show, and I am waiting for your call. Strange encounters, theories about the paranormal, questions about some of the cases I've covered on the channel, whatever it is, as long as it's weird, I want to hear it. Call now to be on Eerie's Vault Live. This is Eerie's Vault Live, and I am your host, Leon Eerie, and this is your number one stream for the weird, the strange, and the unexplained. Okay, and here's the rules of the road then for tonight. You seasoned veterans will have heard all of this before. However, I can notice Goblin Grundle and Tony D in the chat, certainly, and a couple of other new names. Welcome to you all. Here's the rules of the road. So if you want to be on the show, and don't be scared. Don't be scared of it. If you want to be on the show, send a message to the WhatsApp number that you can see scrolling across the screen at various points during the broadcast, and with a brief outline of what you want to talk about, and then I can call you back. So it acts as a sort of call queuing system for me. Good evening, Jan. Welcome. Alternatively, you can call directly from the UK, and that's 0141 673 3743. And in the USA, since my viewership is approximately 50-50 USA and UK, then you can call on a New York City number 929 673 3743. That's 929 Mr. Eerie. That way we can cover pretty much most of the world, actually. And I realised today that if we have one person on WhatsApp and one person on the call, then we could probably have... Oh, no, we couldn't, because the person on WhatsApp couldn't hear the person on the call. Oh, that's a shame. We'll figure out how to have more than one person on a call at some point. I suspect it'll involve paying more of a subscription fee, but nevertheless, for me that is, not for you. Nevertheless, we'll figure it out. So, the numbers are on the screen for you now, and of course you can email if you're a bit too shy to call. What do you share? Well, anything about the world of the weird and the paranormal. It might be something that's happened to you. It might be something that's happened to people you know. It might be something you've read on the internet and you want to tell us about. It might be a theory about space or time or the dinosaurs or, I don't know, aliens or time travel, and could be anything you want to talk about like that. You might have book recommendations, film recommendations around the weird and the paranormal. You might have challenges to some of the things I've said in my videos, and you might want to talk about those. You might have opinions. You might have suggestions on good topics for the future. In short, anything weird. It doesn't have to be a story, okay? And the only real rules are no bad language, if you can help it, no politics or hate. This is modern madness, and we don't want it. We want paranormal mystery. And by participating in a call, you, of course, consent to being broadcast live, don't you? Of course you do, because that's what this is, and you may be edited into clips as well for the channel. So basically, have fun with it. Give us a ring, have a chat. Just don't say anything that you wouldn't want on YouTube forever. And yes, if we come over to the chat, who we got? I've just seen Johnny A join. Good evening, Johnny. And Ultra Mammoth. Ultra Mammoth, good welcome. Good welcome. Good morning even. Good evening. Good afternoon. Who says, could they not use the YouTube audio to hear the other person? They could. However, there is a delay on the stream, and it would be chaos. It would be absolute chaos, I think. There will be a way to do it, I'm quite sure. I might be able to loop the audio from the call into, I don't know, the microphone or something. I'm not very tech savvy, unfortunately, but I do get there. I do manage to get there eventually. But we'll figure it out, I'm sure. So the lines are open. Let's wait for your call. And Tony says, Mr. Eerie, I can recommend a listen to a couple of channels for you to link with that you'd enjoy. By all means, let's have your suggestions. Yes, absolutely. Not at all a problem. We're going to head over to the emails first, actually, because I have a couple that I didn't get to about 2 weeks ago. And then some came in on Sunday, the 28th, that I haven't yet looked at, and then another one from today. So we'll begin with two from our friend John Mooner. Regular viewers will be aware that John is a prolific photographer of UFOs and their occupants, let's say. And this email is titled Anomalous Sphere Object Captured. And John writes, it was a very hot, sunny day, and I had gone to the Tyne estuary to take photos and see if I could capture any more anomalies within the area. I was sitting right up against Shalden Bridge, looking down the Tyne estuary, and I could see a man walking his dog, when I suddenly spotted an anomalous object further down the estuary in the sky. The sunlight was glistening off it as it moved about. It was a sphere-shaped object, and it was seemingly defying gravity. Hovering above the estuary, it moved in a circular motion, going downwards and then back, upwards, and then right as I immediately took a burst of photographs, and then the camera buffered as it wrote the data to the internal SD card, and I seemingly then lost sight of this spherical object. I thought that was strange. Where did it go? I looked at my camera to take a look at it through the view screen, and I could say that it was definitely something anomalous. I looked back and zoomed in on the area where I spotted it once again, flying away from the area. It was very far away now, but I took several photographs capturing it once again. Then, to my surprise, a flying saucer shot across the sky, following the sphere-shaped object. I took 2 photographs capturing the flying saucer, and I was left completely gobsmacked. This is incredible. I had successfully captured 2 anomalous objects at the estuary, and when I finally got back home that evening, I conducted a full analysis of the photographs, focusing my attention on the sphere-shaped object as it was the clearest. I could see that it had been rotating whilst it moved, which I found interesting. I made several animated GIF images, or is that GIF? Let's start that poll, shall we? Is it GIF or GIF? Graphic interchange format. It's got to be GIF, hasn't it? This is Shalden Bridge, Shalden Bridge, apparently. I made several animated GIF images from the 4 photographs showing the object's strange movement. It was not windy on this day. This object was clearly moving in a controlled manner. There were no balloons or drones within the vicinity, as I had been observing the area for several hours, and I had seen none. This sphere-shaped object was definitely mechanical in nature, along with the flying saucer I also captured. This is yet more proof of anomalous alien craft flying around freely above the estuary. I can photograph them every time I visit the area, proving that this is an area in Devon that's a true hotspot for this kind of anomalous activity. The photographs were captured at 6:03 p.m. on the 1st of July 2025 at the Tyne Estuary in Devon, England. 1 day later, on the 2nd of July, in the cover of night. 2 military Lynx helicopters flew over the exact area of the estuary where the anomalous objects were the day before. It was like they were looking for residual traces of the anomalous objects. The 2 Lynx helicopters, V Lane 61, and some other registration numbers that might get me in trouble if I read them out, were flying around for some time as they flew over the exact spot where I had photographed the sphere UFO and flying saucer the day before. The helicopters had flown down from RNAS Yeovilton, HMS Heron. Was this a coincidence? I think not. This proves that someone is monitoring my work, says John, and it also proves that the British military is actively monitoring these anonymous alien intrusions over British airspace. This is a very interesting case with military involvement. The helicopters also circled the area where I live. It was about 1:15 midnight, and they were very loud. The interesting thing is that one of my sightings of a flying saucer with rectangular windows, which I captured above the Tyne Estuary, was featured on the Proof Is Out There TV show, Season 5, Episode 2. And I was in contact with the show producer, who told me to email them if I had any further sightings, which I did, but they gave me a different email to use, and now I'm wondering if that's how the military was tipped off to these anomalous crafts within that area. This is very interesting, writes John. And yes, we have some photographs. So, of course, I'm going to just waffle at you while I try to bring one of these images in to the screen for you. I'd never sort of intended for this show to be visual. I always wanted it to hark back to the old sort of coast-to-coast days, you know, where it was a radio show. But I will pop these on. Let's put an image here, and let's make the source of that image. All right, so this is I don't know if you can see that. Maybe you can't. Hang on. Let me... Oh, just one second. There we go. So that is where it happened. So you can see John's vantage point over to the right on this image, and the sphere object had seen the day before over to the left there, and then the path of the helicopters traced in the orange line there. Now, I have this photo, I guess is the best one. I'll tell you what I will do. I'll put these up on the Patreon in that group chat eventually, so you can have a good look at them in there. But for now, for people who are not on the Patreon, let's just pop another one on. And I understand that they are not massively clear, but that is I mean, it'll be very zoomed in as well. And there it is. That's one of the photos from John. What I'll do is, as I say, I'll put these into the Patreon, into that group chat now that exists. All of them. There are about, I don't know, there's about 9-10 photographs to put in here. I'll do that when we take the break at 10, just so that I'm not sort of feeling around in the dark, as it were. So, how do I move that? How do I get rid of that image now? Let's try it. This. There we go. So that was from John Mooner, our friend. And there is another one from John, but I'll alternate here. Yes, the Tyne estuary. Sorry, William. Yes, T-E-I-G-N estuary. That's right. Dave Scott likes all the Woo and Thomas's series. Or I'm in the middle of a conversation there. And right. So yes, our next thing, let's call it. It's an email. Let's not beat around the bush. Our next email is it's actually a recommendation. So we got talking about video games, didn't we? Or as Hank Hill would call them, video games. Video games. I can't do a Hank Hill impression. He's too cool, and I'm not. But yes, I've been pointed to a game called The Grey Hill Incident, which is a story-driven survival horror game that takes place in the early 90s. Do you know, I think I've heard of this one. Mark, I think I've heard of this one. Yes, it's the alien one, isn't it? So there's some sort of alien invasion on a farm. Oh, right, thank you for that. I will take a look at that. We're playing, Silent Hill F at the moment. We're in the middle of that. Okay, now this is from Paul, who says, "Hi, Leon. I have just caught up with Friday's live stream because I was working. This will be the week, the last one that we did, not last week, obviously, the week before. The Liverpool taxi ghost reminded me of an experience a female colleague had over a decade ago." Oh, here we go, listen. "I should explain that she is an ambulance paramedic. She doesn't recall when this happened, but going by some rudimentary research, it seems to have been early in January of 2013. Please excuse me. "My colleague was travelling up the Wye Valley about 5:30, 5:45 in the morning, going to start a shift in Monmouth. It was dark at that time of year, and the road from Chepstow crosses between Monmouthshire and Gloucestershire. She was on the section between Llandudno and Redbrook, and had just traversed the Wye across Biggs Weir Bridge, when she saw a young woman stood at the side of the road. This struck her as odd, because this section has got no houses nearby, and because of the time of day it was, it felt even stranger. She noted that the woman was wearing something like a Bon Jovi t-shirt or a sweatshirt of something, and getting to work, my colleague mentioned the sighting to the crew that she was going to relieve, and just because it was bothering her so much that a young woman was in such a place at such a time. This other colleague just casually mentioned that a fatal RTC, I assume that's a road traffic collision or something had taken place in that area a few days previously. Now, not thinking much more of the comment, she didn't pursue it any more at that point. A few days later, she's speaking with another colleague and mentions the girl standing by Bigswear Bridge, as it was still preying on her mind. He was at the RTC, and as they were chatting, it emerged that the victim was wearing a Bon Jovi top. I don't know if there have been any other sightings in the intervening years, but I found an article from BBC News that seems to be about this fatal RTC. This is titled "Bristol Woman Killed in an A466 Collision. A Shining Star. A Bristol teenager was killed in a car crash." Gosh. The same colleague also mentioned to me that a few crews had seen a white woman standing in the road in the village of Llanover, which is between Abergavenny and Pontypool. Llanover is home to a large country estate to which the village belongs, and was the seat of Sir Benjamin Hall, local MP, as a Minister of Public Works. He oversaw the construction of the Houses of Parliament. At over 6 feet tall, he acquired the nickname Big Ben to those working on the project. The large clock bell was named thus in his honour. I never knew that. I can't find any published accounts of the woman, but there was a murder of a woman in the village in 1921, according to an article in the Abergavenny Chronicle from 2011. I will leave it there now, but I have a few other stories I've heard whilst in work, including my own small experience, that I shall regale at another time. Gosh. And thanks for that, Paul, by the way. And in Paul's email there, aside from the stories, I love the stories. I love the fact that there's an attempt there to tie it into a real world incident, because that's really the fun and the intrigue on ghost stories for me. So we cover a lot of stuff on this channel, lake monsters and monkey men and, lots of aliens, of course, UFOs and interdimensional stuff. Ghosts crop up on the live more than they do in my scheduled programming. But certainly whenever I look, I did a video on, the Bluebell Hill ghost. I believe that's the A229, is it? The ghost girl of Bluebell Hill. And it just leads you, because you feel like it's not enough just to say, oh, look, there's a ghost. You feel like you want to dig into it and you want to try and find real world links to these sort of things. And I love that in Paul's email there. I love that there's the links and I wonder if it's this and I wonder if it's that. So yes, thank you very much for that. And also thank you for all the very difficult places to pronounce. I'm just rereading the Wye Valley, Monmouth, Chepstow, Monmouthshire, Gloucestershire, Llandogo, Redbrook, Wycross, Bigswear Bridge. I'm just realising, anyone not from the UK would thinking, what on earth is Eerie talking about? Jan wants to know. For a beginning, we have a Mr. X in the chat. Welcome, Mr. X. Yes, Buster, I did ask you to remind me about Telly Savalas. It's not written actually. Let me write it on my let me write it on this board. Just some dead air for a second. Sing yourselves a song. There we go. Telly S. I've written. We'll have a look at that one, I'm sure. Jan says, has anyone followed the Kin Panama creature story? An amazing hoax. Although I could be wrong. Gosh. No. I want to know about that, please. Somebody call up and tell me. Please, somebody give us a ring and tell me what on earth this Kin Panama creature. Anything that says creature on it, I'm there. You've got me. You've got my attention. I love creatures. Is a bubble car like a bumper car you would see in an amusement park, or is it more just like a buggy of sorts? Goblin Grundle asks. Bubble car is, I think they were three-wheelers. They were rather more enclosed than bumper cars. They were an actual car, which you climbed into through the front of the vehicle, if I recall. So the front of the vehicle would open, and you would climb in that way. And you had to be careful when you drove into the garage, because if you drove too close to the wall, you couldn't get out. Ah, you might say, I shall reverse. No, you won't. Not in a bubble car, because they don't have a reverse gear, as far as I know. I believe in Australia they were called the Go-Go Mobile or something like that. But yes, they were curious about what's caused you to ask that question. I must have missed something in the chat. You've made me think of the Wallerton Gnomes there. Isetta and BMW used to make them. Messerschmitt built them. Oh, Jan says it's a guy from Panama who's found... Oh, yes, I think I know about this briefly. I think I know a little bit about this. The Panama meteorite creepy tentacle thing. I must admit, I saw it when I was scrolling, as we do now. We do nowadays, don't we? We scroll. And I saw it whilst scrolling and just gave it a miss. I wasn't sure about it, but I shall have to look it up. Any updates on the Buga sphere? Well, funnily enough, I actually was considering fleshing out this script that I've written, or partially written, about the Buga sphere, where is it? The Buga sphere, or Buga sphere, yes. So this is a mysterious metal sphere that fell from the sky over Colombia, and it caught the interest of scientists and UFO enthusiasts and the public alike. Dubbed the Buga sphere after the town of Buga where it was found, this object has been at the centre of intense investigation and wild speculation. The sphere's seamless metallic shell, strange engravings, and puzzling physical behaviours have prompted rigorous scientific analyses alongside, of course, conspiracy-fueled interpretations. This report will present a comprehensive look at the Buga sphere. So that's the beginning of the script that I began to write. Multiple witnesses spotted it flying in a sort of zigzag pattern over Buga. It's in Colombia, is this, and it emitted colourful lights, and then it descended vertically. I mean, how else do you descend? Of course, it descended vertically. It landed, or perhaps slowly fell, after apparently colliding with a high-voltage power line, and it caused a spark, and it left a small hole in its shell. A local man retrieved the sphere. It only weighs about 4.5 pounds. So 2 bags of sugar, something of that weight. He kept it, but began to experience strange effects. He claimed his fingerprints were erased, which meant he couldn't unlock his phone anymore. He got vomiting and diarrhea. He must have gone to the TGI Fridays in Cyprus that I went to. He got headaches, and he passed this object on to a friend. It ended up in a lab and has been studied ever since. Now, Jaime Maussan is involved in this story, which I'm going to be honest with you, makes me think, oh dear. It's like Todd Standing to Bigfoot, you know. It just, as soon as you see Jaime Maussan, you think, oh, right, okay then, you know. Tony says I should look up the Virginia UFO case. I have seen that one, and there's a tremendous documentary about that. Oh gosh, what's it? Jamie somebody? What's his name? The filmmaker, where he goes to Virginia and he speaks to the witnesses, the three ladies who were girls at the time. This is a case where an alien creature was seen and I believe touched by some military guy who died of radiation sickness or something like that afterwards. I'd have to read it all again, but gosh, you know what? I'd love to talk to the guy who did that film. I really would. I'd love to chat to that guy. The link above is the guy's confession about the hoax. Oh dear. There you go then. That was the Buga sphere, I think. I'm sure there was a sphere thing years ago. Big thing turned out to be a fuel cell in the end, says Buster. I can't remember that one. Emu Cat suggesting that there's one that was stolen and swapped out for a fake one. Oh, I see. You know, there's always a hoax, isn't there? Who's trying to make me say care? Bubble care. Over there in the yard is the car, and it's parked in the dark. Yes. The most alien thing about this broadcast is the accent, isn't it? Hoaxes should go in the stocks. Time wasted. There are so many hoaxes. And it's massively disappointing, isn't it? Massively disappointing. Don't forget, this is a call-in show. You guys, here's how to do it. To take part in tonight's show, there are a number of options. You can send a message on WhatsApp, giving a brief outline of what it is you want to discuss, and then wait for my call back. Alternatively, for UK residents, you can call direct on 0141 673 3743 to join the call queue and get through to the live show. And for listeners in the US, you can also call on 929-673-3743. That's 929 Mr. Eerie. That's a New York City number. And if you're too shy to call, then you can always email eeriesvault@gmail.com with your story or your theory, whatever it is you want to talk about, and I can read it out for you on air instead. Remember, this is your show, and I am waiting for your call. Strange encounters, theories about the paranormal, questions about some of the cases I've covered on the channel, whatever it is, as long as it's weird, I want to hear it. Call now to be on Eerie's Vault Live. This is Eerie's Vault Live, and I am your host, Leon Eerie, and this is your number one stream for the weird, the strange, and the unexplained. And it looks like I've got a call coming in. Oh, I've just missed it. Whoever that was, please do call back. Just missed it after the break there. I was going to be all suave and come back in with it. And we're going straight to the phones. I left you hanging just a little bit too long, I think. So if that was you, please do call back. And I will answer this time, honest. Have you ever seen a ghost is our poll now in the chat. Have I? Yes, I have. There we go. I shall vote on that as well. Don't trust polls. Yes. There we go. That's launched there. Yes, sorry, I've missed your call. Please do call back. So do I text the USA number from my phone to leave a message? You just remain on the line. That's 929-673-3743. And if that's you, I'm going to answer it now. Good evening. You are on Eerie's Vault Live.
Hello, Eerie. How are you? I'm sorry to hear that you've been feeling unwell.
Well, you know, it was... It wasn't nice, Flair, put it that way.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear.
Yes.
Oh, dear.
I
know that feeling.
I've never quite hugged a tiled bathroom floor in a dirty apartment in Cyprus before, but I can cross it off my list now.
I know it sounds funny, but... when we've actually been to Cyprus, and it sounds like we had not the illness, but we had to hold the tile floor because we got in and out of the toilet overflowed when we got into.
Oh God! Oh gosh!
It was. To be fair, my sister blamed me, and I'm like, I didn't do it. I've only just walked. Anyway.
Dear me.
Dear.
Yes, I'm back and I'm well. Thank you ever so much.
Oh, good.
I'm just a quick note for callers calling in. Whilst I have somebody else on the line, it will just ring and ring and ring, and I won't be able to put you into a queue as such at this point. So I can see there's a couple of people trying to call. Please hang around.
Yes, please do.
Yes,
please.
And we'll get to you as soon as we can. Thank you. So, Fleur, what have you got for us this evening?
Oh, well, this fine evening, Eerie. I was going to talk to you about, I don't know whether you're familiar with Sheffield, or is it Rothermary? Because we once decided to, have a little bit of a trip to, just after the normal. My sister said, you know what, let's go and see if there's anywhere in Yorkshire. And I'm like, oh, okay, let's see how the journey goes. So we all packed into the car, my sisters, my niece and me. My niece Wednesday, the jigs that she is. So we learnt about I believe it's called Wentworth Woodhouse. Okay. We learnt about Wentworth Woodhouse, and at the time, you couldn't actually go in. So my sister said, well, I've Googled it, and we can go into what they call, it's called the Pepper Pot locally, but I believe it goes by a different name.
Oh, I'm not familiar with that.
It goes by a different. I'm just going to quickly Google it. It's like a big tower. Uberstand, that's what they call it. Uberstand. I've just Googled it. We decided to take a trip to Uberstand, and that's not open very often. It's only open at certain times. So we decided to go into this pepper pot ship tower. Apparently it was owned by I think it was a relative of, or a descent of the Fitzwilliam family. It was built for a Lord Milton. So my sister said, why don't we pay to go in? It might be an interesting experience. So I'm looking at this tower going, yeah, that looks safe. That looks just totally safe. I'm like, yeah, that looks totally safe. And I even asked the man, is anything, wrong with it? And the man said, no, it's perfectly fine. You can go up. It's just we only send people up at a certain time.
And what is it like? Is it ruins, or is it that sort of a thing?
It's like a round folly, I believe.
Okay.
It's a round folly. So we paid and we started going around the tower because it looks like a pepper pot shaped tower. And as we're going around this staircase, you began to feel like something wasn't right. And immediately my sister, who's sensed the spirit, she's like, I don't like it up here. She said, I just don't like it. I kind of want to go back down in a bit, but I'll go straight to the top. So going around the staircase, we got to the top, we had a look over, took a look around the folly, saw lots of really good views, went back down, and we just got out, we're just walking back to the car, and my niece said, there's somebody in that window. And I'm like, don't be daft, there's nobody in that window. And we just turned, and you could see the outline of somebody standing in the window. So I'm like, well, there was nobody up there at the time but us. So I'd be like, I just said, no, it's probably just, somebody's reflection.
And there shouldn't have been anybody else up there, right?
No, there shouldn't have been anybody up there because nobody was. I think the very people that had gone afterwards were right at the top. But the glass around it was frosted, but you could clearly see the outline of somebody standing there sort of looking out. So we're trying to just go, laugh it off going, oh, don't worry about it. She's only, Wednesday was only young. I don't want to repeat this. So we just kind of went in. And we just started to drive off. And obviously, my sister decided to do a little bit of Googling. Turns out that we were in another haunted place.
Gosh.
Why does my sister take us there to a haunted place?
She has a knack, doesn't she? Yes.
Yeah, she does. She takes us like really haunted stuff. And as it turns out, the tower has been haunted by what they think are spirits. There's noted as well that there seems to be some kind of wizard.
Oh, okay, that's unusual. Yes.
Yeah, it was apparently there's an underground tunnel, and they believe that a wizard or magician. I'm not exactly sure what this is because it's again just a myth. That there was some kind of magic circle going. Apparently they found pentagrams.
Oh, good Lord. No.
And I'm just like, no, I ain't going back there again.
No.
To buy some pentagrams. So we decided to do something else. So we went home, and my sister said again the next week, do you want to go somewhere else? Yeah, I'll go with you. Just make sure it's nice. So she took us to Chatsworth House. Again, my sister seems to just like going to big manor houses.
Yeah.
I think she wants to be the lady of the house.
She wants to be Lady Downton or whatever she's called. Yeah.
Oh God, she'd love that life, I think. So we decided to have a good look around Chatsworth, and obviously we were enjoying ourselves. We went to see the animals. We went inside, and again, not noticed anything, nothing weird, nothing special going on. And we got to one point was a portrait gallery, and it was just like a biggish room at the end of the tour with just like a few like little portraits scattered around and a few cases with some, I don't know what they were, maybe pans, pots, I'm not entirely sure. My brain had turned off by then.
You just wanted to get out of there, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, it's very nice in here, but I don't think I want to be walking around. If I see a lady Chatsworth, I might give her a wave. I just went, see her shoot, I'll give her a wave. But I'd gone to one of the windows, and it was, because the windows were quite old-fashioned, it was like, I don't know how to describe it, like a mottled, almost, I don't know how to describe the window. It's basically, you know how very old panes of glass are? They're not smooth. They're sort of like distorted.
Sort of wavy, sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, sort of wavy and distorted. So I decided to stand there, and I was looking over at I think it was the lawns, and in my ear, I was, just standing there not doing anything. I know that the other three were just looking around, and in my ear, I hear a distinctive, in my ear.
Right.
So I turned, it was loud enough that it was as though somebody was standing right beside me. It was so I looked around. My sisters were at the other end. Wednesday was at the other end. There was one person, but he had already walked out of the hole. So I'm like, what? I'm like, what? And I just said to her, I said, did you just whistle in my ear? No. So I called to Wednesday. Wednesday, why did you just whistle in my ear? She said, I didn't whistle. I was at the other end. So I'm like, so now I'm seeing things, and now I've got something whistling in my ear.
And there's pentagrams everywhere, and oh gosh, I'd have been out of there immediately.
Well, we were told by a couple of people from the Uber stand incident that apparently there's lots of ghost tours that happen around there. Apparently there's been strange strange lights, strange sounds. So, again, we didn't go in. In Chatsworth, again, the in the ear was, I was like, I'm like, why do you put me into danger? First I get the pentagrams, then something whistles in my ear. Why do you do it?
Goodness me, can't you just take it to a library or something like that next time?
Yeah. Luckily the next one was nicer. We went down down the Yorkshire Mining Museum. Didn't see anything gruesome down there, but it was fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Then we had a little bit of a pot around the area, and this is so silly, but obviously we'd been coming through what would be part of Rotherham, which was the Stubbing area, which was like a mining area.
Right. And
I was, we were all just sort of talking, and we're making up stories. And I said, like on a certain bend, I said that you'll see a lady called Mary, and she'll run out in front of the road. I got that in my head, that this lady was called Mary, and she would run out in front of the road. Didn't open my mouth, didn't know anything about it. So we got home, and my sister bought a book about, different areas of Rotherham, just to see, because we don't live in Rotherham, but we live sort of in Yorkshire.
Yeah.
And she said to me, you were talking about someone called Mary, weren't you? Like, yeah. Turns out there's an area in Stubbing leading down to, I believe, a place called Greesborough. There is a ghost of a lady who runs out in front of cars, and the cars mow her down, but nobody's there. It's a bit like the Stocksbridge bypass thing.
Oh, I see, right.
And guess what her name was?
Let me guess. Joanne?
Mary.
Yes, Mary, of course it was. Oh.
And again, it was really weird, because I didn't know this. And I just made the story up. I didn't know. I'm like, what? She said, did you know about it? I said, how do I know? I said, because I didn't, she had a laptop at the time. I didn't know. So I was like, well, what's going on? It's just one of these things. She takes me to many places that are full of ghosts, And then I'm like, now I know about this Mary that runs out in front of the road like the Stocksbridge bypass kind of thing.
Gosh, I don't ever want to see anything like that happen. Honestly, I mean, I've made videos about that sort of thing, but I can't imagine what it's like to have you wouldn't know it's a ghost. I guess it's just somebody running out into the road, isn't it? And then these people who stop and there's nothing there.
Yeah. From what I understand, the area there's been about, from what I can find years later, there were 2 incidents. One was a young man, and the other one was another man. Apparently, this woman would run out in front of the road. They would hit her. The person would get out of the vehicle, and there would be no one there.
Yeah, that's it. Classic. It's classic.
So I'm like, oh God.
Yeah.
Hopefully, but no, we didn't see any Mary. We didn't, we weren't staying around to check out the.
I don't blame you.
We didn't stay around to check out that. But what made me, I was sort of angry at this because I said, why did it have to whistle in my ear? Why? Well, it was so distinctive. It was, when you actually stand at a window and you just hear like a noise. And
I do now. I do now.
So imagine that you're standing there and somebody just goes.
Yes.
Into your ear.
I've experienced that before myself. Whilst travelling in a car, actually.
Oh.
Yeah. Whilst travelling in a car, and there were 2 people in the car, myself and the driver, and certainly the driver did not whistle, but somebody or something did.
All I can say is that was scary because, like I said, this one to me just rather annoyed me rather than scared or infuriated me. Why?
Like, how dare you? Yes.
Like, how dare you? I was just looking over there and once, whatever it was, whistled in my ear. I was enjoying that.
Gosh, yes. Yeah,
I think
ruined the day.
I think the best thing about going to Chatsworth was just the farm shop, because that was good.
Oh, yes, yes.
Dinner afterwards. But no, we decided that we would, see some more of the area, but I can't remember the rest. I'll have to actually ask around as to what we went to see, because I can't remember there being any other weird things that happened at that time.
I think that was plenty, Fleur, to be honest. Let's see what the people in the chat think about this. I can see it rolling away in the corner there. Gosh, it seems we've touched a nerve here.
Oh, we've touched a nerve.
With some, or rather we've, what's the word, sprung a well or something. Basically several people saying they've had similar ghosty experiences. I'd like to hear from those guys too. Fleur, thank you ever so much for your call, as usual. Thank you so much. Okay.
No problem. You have a good time here, and whoever's on the line, please stay on the line.
Yes, callers. The line are open again. Thank you, Fleur. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
And the line is now free. I could see several people trying to call during that conversation with Fleur there. Yes, the line is now free, so now's the time to pick up the phone and dial. Although we don't dial anymore, do we? We just press buttons on a screen. Gone are the days of rotary phones and dialing the number out. So, yes, the lines are now open. For the UK, it's 0141 673 3743. And for the USA, it's New York City 929 Mr. Eerie. That's 929 673 3743. I could see plenty of people trying to get through there. So please try again. Oh, and speak of the devil. I hope it's not. Good evening. You are on Eerie's Vault Live. Welcome to the show.
Wonderful. It's good to hear you. When I found your channel, I went and watched every video. Can you hear me okay?
I can, yes. That sounds good.
Great. I'm calling from New York. I'm south of Rochester on the Genesee River, and I want to talk about a town of about 3,000 in the Genesee Valley that I lived in for about 10 years. And I've had a number of experiences since the beginning to end when I left. So, first off, we purchased a very old house, and I later found out that it was actually drawn on an old map that I found inside of the police station one day when I had court. It was hand drawn on the old map, and it was across the street from the Francis Bellamy house, which was where the author of the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States flag was born and raised. So this is a very steep location.
Sure, yeah.
Interesting history. So in the house when nobody was home, it was a three-story old, basically I would guess Victorian or Edwardian home. I think it was actually built in the 1860s, so it would be pretty old. I guess Victorian, I'm not sure. But I would hear like footsteps. And then I had one little dog in the house with me, and I would stay up during the night when I was a teenager, and I would hear up and down through the from the attic going down to the second floor in the middle of the night, and it would scare the poop out of me. And out in the there was a bunch of trails going out through the woods to fields outside of town, out back of our house. So I would walk with my dog up and down the trails, and we'd find horseshoes in really cool tiny bottles. And there was a time when I had to go out there at night to go and I was looking for my dog when he escaped out of the house because somebody had left the door open.
Right, yeah.
And I'd seen there was like a fire out in the basically in the creek bed, and there was nobody's out there. Like sometimes we would go out there and have small fires as kids, but it was rare when anybody would be out there without making a lot of racket.
Sure.
And you'd be able to tell. But so I'd want keep going towards this object, expecting to see some other people outside, and it was just a tiny flame in the distance on the creek bed, and it would keep on moving forward as I would go towards it.
Oh, it was moving.
And I didn't know
okay.
that, apparently there's a phenomenon of a ghost lamp or like a ghost fire.
Ah.
And it might have something to do with the creek bed itself. I'm not 100% sure, but I saw it with my eyes.
Gosh.
It was kind of weird. And I'm going to try to go chronologically. So when I left town for a period and came back, I used to ride through the valley outside of town. Within a couple of miles, there's a tree that's known as the torture tree because it had to do with the French and Indian War. And to keep it polite, there was basically the Indians made some white guys that were defeated, like the insides came out and had to do with the tree.
Okay, right.
It was very grotesque, and but I could always tell that in that riding through that area at night on my bicycle, there was a lot of energy around there, and I didn't know about the history of the tree. I'd seen a plaque here and there, but it was just it was a spooky area. There's lots of huge trees around, and it's kind of swampy. There's large deer that would jump out and scare you. But I'd always have a really bright light sky to see above me. And I've seen many meteors and different objects that were probably satellites, but there was occasions where I've seen what was definitely UFOs moving at a high rate of speed. They were very brightly lit, and the triangular shape where they have the three patterns.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Three lights. And I did see that once there briefly. It kind of flickered in and out. So going back into when I moved back to Mount Morris later on, now I'm in my 20s. This is it's called Mount Morris. It's next to the Genesee River, and there's a dam right next to it. Okay. So I'd imagine that the water energy might have a lot to do with the paranormal. But and there's a lot of history there. There's actually what's called the Mills Mansion, which is another historical landmark, which is a very old building that's been preserved and turned into a museum. and I happened to live across the street from it in an apartment building that was also very old. And when I moved back later on, I realized that my friends that had moved into the same apartment, they named it Area 51, and I had told them about my experience when I was there, because when I came back and I was in the upstairs and in this small bedroom apartment, there was in the middle of the night I would get hairs pulled out of my head. It felt like,
Oh my
and it
God.
wasn't like I was getting them stuck in chewing gum or anything. They were getting plucked out of my head, and then eventually this kept going on until I tell you no lie, I saw a 3.5 foot tall ET, gray alien with a black almond wraparound eyes standing before me, and I was frozen solid, stiff like a board. And as soon as I was able to wiggle my toe, there was a look of surprise on his face, and he looked startled, and he actually scrambled in through the kitchen.
Gosh.
And I could hear his little pitter patter of his feet slapping on my tiles.
Oh, I bet that's
And
I bet that's a sound you'll never forget.
Oh, absolutely not. And so I grabbed my bass guitar and positioned it like a battle axe.
Yeah.
I was convinced he was hiding in my closet, and I was gonna whack him, but there was nothing there, and haven't experienced anything quite like that since. Now, and apparently people that have moved into that same apartment afterwards later on, they had told me their experiences. And like I said, they dubbed this place Area 51.
Yeah.
Now, I mentioned the Mills Mansion, which is across the street from it, kind of going downhill towards the river. And I would occasionally grab my bike and take it downstairs, and I'd scoot down the hill to go grab smokes at the 24-hour gas station going towards the river. And one of these nights there, what happened to be it was a really breezy night. It was kind of like this at the same time of year. It wasn't too cold, but it was just very pleasant. So I wasn't thinking too much when I saw like what I can describe as a procession of young men and women, and there was 2 rows of them, and there were about 6 each in a row, 5 or 6. So there was about 10 or 11 or 12 of them, and I didn't realize that it was kind of odd to just like sit there and stare. I felt like it was rude. I don't know what they were really up to. They could have been having some kind of a Dungeons and Dragons like role playing experience. I don't know, but it didn't really occur to me what I saw until because I was just trolling down the hill and cruising on my beach cruiser bicycle.
Yeah.
And when I stopped, when I got to the bottom, I turned around and they were gone. But the funny thing about it is they were wearing like Harry Potter robes, and they were all dressed the same. And one of them was carrying a menorah with like a candelabra type of thing. And there was like a hooded procession, and they were going directly towards the Mills Mansion complex. And basically right about to where they would have arrived there, that's when they disappeared.
And vanished.
Because they would have, by the time I turned around to check, like I couldn't believe what I just saw. They were gone.
Wow.
And on that same area, later on, this would have been maybe a couple of years later during the day, in that same spot. Like I was walking up the hill on this side of the road where this procession was, and there was just this very odd unmarked vehicle that stopped and pulled over into the next to the sidewalk, which is odd to do when you're heading uphill in that particular area. And these 2 gentlemen that were dressed the same, with their shirts tucked in, hair slicked back, they got out of the car without speaking a word. They uniformly, robotically switched the license plates. They took them off. The passenger took off the front plate. The driver took off the rear plate. They packed them into the car, and they swapped them with other plates. And as I was walking up the hill, I watched them do this, and they didn't say a word. And then they just nodded to each other, got back in the car, and took off.
Were these Men in Black type people?
Yeah, well, certainly, that's what I actually think. And I have more experiences just like that in that same area, because in another apartment I lived in at the bottom of the hill, across from this 24-hour gas station next to the Genesee River, in another old building, there was incidences where during the night I would see the unmarked van pull up, and it would be like, a woman with a really neat ponytail, and they were all dressed the same, like they all had shirts tucked in, men and women, some of them black or Asian, whatever, but they were all kind of uniform and robotic-like, and they would just really, without saying a word, it was super weird. Unmarked vehicle. It was not like a business or anything. In the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And they would just kind of do their thing and then take off. Strange area. And also, when I was riding a bus, and this next town over, Geneseo, I actually saw a strange looking, basically it looked like kind of like an Asian looking man in the Men in Black get up with a cane, and he had the briefcase. He didn't really have a special kind of hat that I can remember, but he was walking directly towards the intersection where there's no path. You would just be walking into traffic. There's no way to cross. There's no reason to cross because you're up against a wall.
Yeah.
And he was marching right towards the bus as I'm parked there at the red light. And he was looking directly at me because when I saw him, and it just made my hair stand up. And I realized what I was looking at was not normal at all.
Not human, do you think?
Right. He was walking with intention, like with a purpose, directly into traffic. And then the light turned green. We went out, and my head was glued to the window, and I was, trying to see what he was trying to do, because he didn't really have anywhere to necessarily go. He was just walking directly towards me, and it really gave me the shivers. So, in that, back to Mount Morris now, this would have been. Around that same time, actually, I was living, like when I said, in this house across from this 24-hour gas station. I only found out about a year or so later, after I had left the place, that there was a couple of kids that had died there from a drug overdose, and I was wondering why there was a black spot in my carpet. Nobody had even taken the carpet out of the apartment.
Oh my God, really?
And there was odd smells that would come out of the place, and I could never figure it out. And man, that place was really something else. There was a horrible infestation of all kinds of critters, and I'm talking about bats and squirrels and bees and spiders that managed to find their way into the house somehow. And it seemed like they were always attacking me, like directly. And I would hear taps on the walls and footsteps all over the floors at night, and I had to get out of there.
How long were you there for? How long were you actually there?
Well, I was there the first time. I was there for about a year and a half, and then I actually left, and then I moved back there because the rent was super cheap. So I moved back there for about a year and a half.
Wow!
In the same unit that was right next to it.
God, that's a long time to put up with it.
Yeah, the other side of the house wasn't so bad, or maybe it was just my energy at the time, but the neighbor that I had that lived in my old unit, he went absolutely bonkers, and he would say at nighttime he couldn't sleep because he told me that there was something going on in that room where those kids died. And I told him what I had been told, and he was like, that explains it. And then he packed up and left.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, it's just a strange old town.
It certainly sounds like it.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So the main reason I called in, I have another story, which had to do with, I guess I'll try to save it for another time. I'll call in again because I totally got sidetracked. There were so many odd occurrences there. But it's been a joy chatting with you and hearing the show live and being a part of it.
Sure. And I think you might be our first caller from the US, not our first interviewee, as it were, but the first person to use our new US phone number. So thank you very much for that.
The system seems to work great. I'm glad you could hear me okay.
Yeah,
I've
sounds
never
good.
called outside of the country myself on this device, I don't think, or that I could remember.
There you go. I'm glad it's all set up correctly.
Yeah, it's good to hear. Yeah, we're testing it out. It seems to work great.
Awesome. Great. Well, I'd love to hear some more stories another time, really would. And
absolutely. I'll have to go back into my old journals and when I wrote these things down, I used to call into the Coast to Coast AM show and talk about the green fireball.
Oh, I loved that show. I loved that show. Yeah.
there was a period when everybody was talking about the fireballs, and I was like, I'd like to see one. And then weeks went by, and then sure enough, I was riding my bicycle at night under the stars, and I saw them.
Wow. Who did you speak to? Did you speak to George, or was it Art?
It was I spoken with George and John B. Wells.
Oh, okay, right.
And
yes.
also George Knapp. I used to call him quite a bit about that town and the weird things that happened there.
God, I'd love to talk to George Knapp. He'd be a A-lister guest for me, certainly. I'm very jealous of you right now.
Yeah, well, the Coast to Coast show was fun, and I just don't stay up that late anymore. I used to be a real night owl.
Yeah.
And I would work nights, and I was used to just kind of staying up on my days off, and I would smoke and kind of watch the little cats run around and whatever's going on with the dumpster and all. Yeah. There's a lot of interesting things at night. I've always been a night owl. Nowadays, I walk outside of town. I have no problem walking in the graveyard, and at night under the moonlight, the coyotes are yipping at me, and it's just a thrill. But yeah, I used to sleep in the graveyard, and I'd wake up and there'd be deer staring at me and wondering what the heck I'm doing.
What's this guy doing? Yeah.
I love it. Like it's a thrill.
I bet it is. Yeah. Well, thank you ever so much for your call, and yes, please let's do this again. Thank you.
Certainly. Yes, sir.
All right.
See you.
Good night.
Good one. Night.
And there we are, ladies and gents. So. The American number works. I'm incredibly happy with that. Thank you ever so much for that call. Oh, it was a bit of a spine tingler though, wasn't it? Some of the stuff there. Goodness me. It sounded almost a little cultish, actually. Some of the descriptions of the unmarked vans and things like that. Wow. Yes, I'm sure we'll hear more from that great caller soon. The lines are still open. Chaps and chapesses, if you have something you want to chat about, talk about, ask, by all means, jump on the phones and let's hear from you, shall we? Oh, who is this? Here's one coming in. Hello, you're on Eerie's Vault Live. Welcome.
Jump on the phones. Hi there.
Hello.
Oh, can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Sorry. Yeah, I just realised there was a bit of a delay on the...
Yes, I heard my own dreadful voice coming back to me.
Yeah, so I phoned up a while back about the UFO that I saw over Topanga and...
oh, yes, right.
Orb in the sky and stuff. But on this topic, you were talking about things, ghostly encounters and cars and stuff like that. And I just thought I'd share a story that when I lived in England, I used to buy ex-police cars because they were fairly cheap, and I used to get like a Volvo or like the estate or the saloon. I had a Range Rover that was an ex-police car, and they were always sort of painted white, and sometimes they had holes in the grille. Some of them had bulletproof polycarbonate windscreens, and you get some really beefed up cars. So I used to get them, do them up, and then sell them on. And then this one time, the guy said, "Well, why don't you try one of these?" And he pointed out one of the cars in the yard, and it was a Volkswagen Passat saloon car. In fact, I still got a picture of it. And it didn't look like a police car. It wasn't the usual thing. And I sort of walked around it, and I thought, it's quite nice, clean, like half leather, Alcantara seats, and everything looked good. So I got in it, and I took it a drive around the block, and it was beautiful, super quiet, soft suspension, because normally police cars have beefed up suspension. So he said this was undercover CID car, and he said it's just come in. And it wasn't the usual holes in the dashboard and wire looms hanging out everywhere. So I thought, actually, this is quite a sensible buy. So I started driving it around, and I lived in Carshalton Beaches, which is quite a nice sort of leafy part of suburbia, and used to enjoy driving down the country lanes. And I started to notice as I'm driving this odd sensation. It felt like you were being watched in a way. And like the previous caller said, like my hairs were standing up on my neck, and I thought, this is strange. Yeah. And I assumed that initially it was the tires making a kind of every now and then like a giggle or a whining sound.
Okay.
So I'm sort of driving along thinking, oh, that's a bit strange, but I'll probably need to get some new tires, or maybe there's some insulation missing from under the floor. But then that noise went away. And then another time I thought I could hear a kind of talking sound, and I thought, well, is there something up with the radiator, or with the radio, or the alternator coming through the speakers? So in the end, I thought, well, I'm going to put a new sound system in here anyway. So I cut all the speakers, so they were dead. There was no way they were going to work.
Yeah.
And then a few weeks later, again, it wouldn't be all the time, but every now and then you get this really uncanny feeling. You think, hang on a minute, this is odd. It could be with other people in the car. Never mentioned it to anyone because I was too proud of saying, you know, I've got this almost
a haunted car.
Yeah. I don't want to give anyone the EBGBs.
Yeah.
And then it sort of culminated in a final trip that I went in the car, and I vowed I would sell it after that, because I started to I thought I heard a voice in the car, and I was driving up the M6, and I'd been driving for about an hour, and I think it was kind of in and out the middle lane, as you do. And along comes this car alongside me with like this sort of skinhead, and he was shouting and really viciously having a go at me, and I slowed down a bit, and I thought, I'll let him go past.
Yeah.
And he didn't go past, and then I thought, I'll put my foot down and see if I can lose him. It wasn't a very fast car, and you know, you shouldn't really be doing that sort of thing. And I was weaving in and out the traffic, and I got up to a junction where I thought, I'll leave it right until the last minute, and then I'll pull off, whichever one that was, into the services. And it stopped, and you know, at the time you're just full of adrenaline.
Yeah, sure.
But then I started thinking, no, it's this car. It's got to be this car. Something bad happened in this car. So I ended up selling it, and I really didn't want to. And it's just one of those things. Unless you're actually inside it, and then it happens, it sounds like not much of a story, but it's just this overwhelming sort of sense of possession, or something may have happened in there. Someone may have got, you know, died in the back seat or something. I don't know, but it was one of those weird ones. So,
uncanny, and to be trapped in a small metal box with something potentially supernatural.
And you know, to your point earlier, I think sometimes some people are kind of affected by things like that. I mean, the one last thing I could tell you, another story, a quick one. Was I used to drive to Hillingdon Hospital, and I used to drive from Carshalton, so it was a fair old drive through used to go into Chiswick, and then join the Chiswick roundabout, and then join the M4, and then go off to Hillingdon. And I was late for a clinic, and there was a bunch of patients that needed a procedure on their eyes, fluorescein angiography, and I thought, no, I've got to get there on time, and you know, as usual. But I had this weird feeling as I got towards Chiswick. I had this horrible feeling like something was wrong. Something was wrong with the car. Now, I've already been driving for about 40 minutes, and everything's been fine because everything's been working properly. But I get to the roundabout, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to pull in to, I think it was the Smithkline Beach building car park, just before you go on an up ramp onto the M4, so you'd have to go up to get onto the M4 from that roundabout. So as I'm going around the corner, and I thought, no, I'll pull into this car park, and it was a Land Rover, getting on for nearly 3 tons, and pulled into the parking space, went to slam the brakes on to stop, and there was no brakes. And I mean, for anyone that knows anything about Land Rovers, they've got a cross-bias braking system in terms of the front right and the rear left should be on a separate circuit to the other corner. And I hit this wooden post, which stopped the car, and it snapped like a twig, and it was like a 2x4 post. And I got out of the car, and I thought, oh, damn, like, this is bad. I didn't dawn on me about, that was the result of a feeling, because I was still full of adrenaline. And I phoned up the AA, for American, it's like the AAA. And I'm talking to the driver of the truck, and he's coming, and I've had to phone up to get someone else to cover the clinic. And on the up ramp, there's a guy walking towards me. Now, at that time, I had long hair and a beard. I had it tied back in a ponytail. And this guy was walking down, and he had long hair and a beard. tied in a ponytail, but he had grey features, but he kind of looked like me.
Oh gosh.
And I'm standing talking on the telephone to the AA driver as it comes around the corner, and I noticed he went the wrong way around the roundabout. I said, no, mate, you've got to turn around and come over this side. And as I turned to my left, he's standing next to me already. I mean, who walks down and off, an on-ramp on the motorway anyway?
Yeah, where's he
And
come from? Yeah.
Exactly, where's he come from? And then he lights up a cigarette. So as I'm talking on the phone, I thought, that's funny, I can't smell the cigarette, the odd thoughts that you get.
Yeah.
And I turned round and he'd vanished. And where he was standing, tied to the lamppost, was a bunch of flowers.
Oh God.
And then just as I looked to my right again, the AA truck, because it was a big one, because it was coming to pick a Land Rover, came around the corner, and you've got like 4 lanes of traffic there, and a huge open car park that was empty because it was fairly early in the morning. And I climbed up into the cab and I said, "Did you see a guy standing here?" He said, "No, no, mate, didn't see anyone." And I thought, I don't know, and the hair stood up on the back of my neck, and I thought,
oh God.
This, when you add it all up,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah. Gosh, that's a freaky one. That is a freaky one. And is it your doppelganger? That's the other question.
Yeah, I mean, it really, honestly, and it wasn't really a common look.
Yeah.
In that part of London, I wouldn't think. It was more professional looking people going off to work, and I had long hair, I was a bit of a rebel, but he looked like me. I mean,
My
he just
God.
looked like me at 60 or 70 or something.
Gosh, that's it. Was there any names on the, where the flowers were? Was there any names on that? No.
I didn't see any names, but I did at the time. I'd told my father about it, and he'd looked up and had found there'd been an accident on there, but he didn't get any more details. I mean, presumably there should be a record of it to this day, but I mean, it was just this thought that had I carried on to the slip road, I would have put my foot down to build up speed. And
no
you know
brakes.
how the start-stop traffic is. Yeah, I mean, I would have got to Hillingdon, and I would have slammed my foot on the brakes and ploughed into the back of whatever was in front of me.
Certainly would. And like you say, there's some weight in them Land Rovers as well.
Yeah, I mean, the handbrake's like on a disc brake thing, so it's not the best. It's not like the handbrakes that you have on
at speed. Yeah, at speed it wouldn't catch, would it, particularly well? No. Yeah, gosh. Yeah.
But there you go.
Great story. Loved it. Thank you.
All right, take care.
All
See
right.
you then.
Cheerio. Thanks very much. Goodbye.
Bye.
Gosh, I'm enjoying myself tonight, everybody. There's 10 minutes left. Let's use them wisely, shall we? If you've got a call, squeeze it in. I might even do 11 minutes. There you go. That's how good I'm feeling about the show tonight. Gosh, it's so good to have all these calls. It's wonderful. Yes, I don't fancy seeing my own doppelganger coming from nowhere on the motorway. That would freak me out, I think, certainly would. And then to see that it's the site of an accident as well. Good Lord. Yes, thank you for that call. Yes, we're into the last 10 minutes. I do have some emails locked and loaded. However, I'd love to take another call. I know there's somebody out there who's got the cojones to give us a bell. You've seen how it works. It's nice and easy. There's no pressure. It's good fun, actually. I really have enjoyed this tonight. What a wonderful selection of calls and stories we've had. Let's take a look at the email inbox whilst I know somebody's going to call. I know they are. I can feel it. I can feel it in the air. I actually have an email from Philip about 3i Atlas, oddly enough, which is what we began the show with, isn't it? Who says, I wonder if you on your listeners has been following the deepening mystery over 3i Atlas, the interstellar comet that has recently passed its closest approach to Mars. So, spectroscopy data shows that it's highly abundant in carbon dioxide, which we mentioned earlier, but Philip has put here, it's also high concentration of nickel. Not unusual in itself, but in solar system comets, nickel is always present with iron, and the ratio of nickel to iron is considered to be a predictable feature. However, 3i Atlas appears to show nickel in the absence of iron, hinting at highly unusual chemistry indeed. And when it was first discovered, one paper suggested the size of it could be as big as 20 kilometres in diameter, which would have been an extremely unusual finding in itself, since the probability of detecting an interstellar comet of that size would be estimated to be 1 in 100,000. However, the astronomy community were quick to point out that the figure of 20 kilometres was only an upper limit, calculated apparently from its total apparent brightness, which would also naturally include any tail or coma aspect of the body itself. If the comet's coma were taken into account, then the nucleus, i.e. the actual rock itself, might only account for a few hundred metres, and the rest of that size is attributable to outgassing, as it were. And finally, he says, if the above were not eerie enough, the spectrophotometric data also suggests that 3i Atlas is glowing green, which is linked to the presence of diatomic carbon in the coma. And as a bit of fun, this reminded me of those ominous green flashes that were described at the start of the War of the Worlds, says Philip, which heralded mankind's downfall in H.G. Wells's masterpiece. I suppose the astrophysicist community will only wait with bated breath to obtain more data as this mysterious interloper reaches perihelion, aka the closest approach to the sun, at the end of this month, with the closest approach to Earth on the 19th of December. I hope there are no nasty surprises, says Philip. So do I, Philip. If there's going to be a surprise, I want a nice one. I want a nice surprise where we can enter a sort of Star Trek-like future where we don't really have to work. That'd be lovely, wouldn't it? Just do the things we're good at. That'd be wonderful. Yes, we're into the last 5 minutes or so. If you've got a quick call in you, you've still got time. You've got 5 minutes. The numbers are on the screen there. In the UK, it's 0141 673 3743. And for the US, certainly New York City, it's 929 673 3743. That's 929 Mr. Eerie. And outside of New York City, of course, it is 929 Mr. Eerie. Yes. I'm so glad that the phone number from America works. Nobody's tried it yet, but I'm very happy that that worked out. Buster says, tough luck, Eerie. They're coming with the death ray and probes. You know it. We know it. Gosh. It'd be nice if they just brought us a different flavour ice cream or something, wouldn't it? Or, what? Look out. There's a caller about. Good evening. You've scraped into Eerie's Vault Live. Welcome.
Hello, Eerie. My name's Andy.
Andy, hello.
You remember you were very kind enough to read out my story about 2-3 weeks ago about the UFO in the Highlands?
Oh, yes. Yes, I remember it. And the going back to the camp toilet in the deck.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah, I do, yeah.
I've got a very, very quick story for you.
Yes, bring it on. Awesome, yeah.
This actually happened about a few years after the Highland thing. It was sort of mid-70s. And my wife and I were on holiday in Paris, and we paid a visit to the Palace of Versailles. Now, I took a photograph of her in a particularly spectacular room with all the gold decorations, a bit like Trump's White House.
Yeah.
And when we got back off the holiday, we got the developed photographs from Boots the Chemist, as you did in those days.
Yes.
We're talking proper film, motion film, None of your digital rubbish.
Where you had to wait 7 days to get them back, yeah.
Exactly, yes. So I was looking through the photographs, and we got to the ones that were taken in Versailles. We got to the one where the photograph of this really spectacular room, and there was the room in full glorious colour. You could see every detail of it. It was perfect focus. You could see people in the background that were in the room, other tourists, obviously. But my wife wasn't in the photograph.
Oh.
Now, at the time, I was actually employed as a photographer in the archaeological world because I just graduated from university at that time as an archaeologist.
I see.
So that was part of my job. So I knew that the photograph was in good focus, and I'd lined it up so that she was sort of slightly to the left of the frame and the perfect golden, what's that word they're using?
Oh, the ratio, the golden ratio and all that.
Golden ratio,
yeah.
That's the one, yeah. But she just wasn't in it. And furthermore, when I checked the negatives, she wasn't in the negatives either. And then it'd be about a year and a half after that, my wife decided that she didn't want to be my wife anymore.
Oh.
So I won't go into that story because it's too personal, but it just made me think, was this a sort of message from the universe telling me that, she's not going to be around
like
for much longer?
A foreshadowing. That's very odd, isn't it?
Yeah, so there we have it. That's it. There you go.
Very odd. Well,
Not very exciting, but it's free.
But it's weird, and it's what we like. Thank you so much for that call. Thank you ever so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Good night.
Okay, good night. Bye.
And that's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all ever so much for the callers. Thank you so much, callers. You've really made this show tonight. You really have. You've made it probably my favourite show so far, I have to say. And, of course, all you guys in the chat as well. I can see you all beavering around there in the chat. It's wonderful to have this community. Greg, that's probably the best joke I've heard in a while. He knows his ISO from his elbow. Very good. Very, very quick, as my grandparents would say. Always quick. Yes. Thank you ever so much, everybody. I shall catch you in the next one. And look out for more videos from Eerie's Vault throughout the week. Good night. YouTube show is only a part of the vault. Beyond the broadcast is the archive. And at eeriesvault.com you'll find our growing library of case files, first-hand accounts of the unexplained, written reports from people who lived through something strange. And we need yours. If you've carried a story for years, if you've never had the chance to put it into words, and this is where it belongs, your report will stand alongside others, building a record that may one day help us see patterns that we cannot see alone. And it's easy. Go to eeriesvault.com, open the Case Files page, and hit the Submit a Case button. Fill in the details and send it on its way. Because strange events pass quickly into silence unless someone records them. Don't let your story vanish. Put it in the vault. From the depths of the vault, this is Eerie's Vault Live. Every Friday at 9 p.m. GMT, the lines are open. UFOs, aliens, ghosts, strange creatures, time slips, encounters you cannot explain. If you've seen something unusual, if something has haunted you, followed you, or simply left you wondering, then this is your place to tell it. Call in and share your story. You can watch the show live on YouTube or stream it directly at eeriesvault.com. And if you're too shy to call, then you can email ahead of the show at eeriesvault@gmail.com, and I will read your story out for you on air. That's Eerie's Vault Live, Friday nights, 9 p.m. GMT. be part of it. For those of you who want to go deeper, there is the Eeries Vault Patreon. Here you'll find the evidence, original newspaper clippings, forgotten publications, rare documents. You'll see the raw material behind the stories, and you'll gain access to exclusive videos, some filmed on location at the very places we discuss, and you'll be able to watch private follow-up videos to the cases already covered on the main channel. It's not just about watching here, it's about joining the search, and by supporting the Vault, you help to keep the archive alive, help uncover more material, and help to bring these stories into the light. And if you've ever wondered what all these marks are on this map here, the YouTube show is only a part of the Vault. Beyond the broadcast,